Henry watched 5 strangers in suits get out of white cars. They said they came to tear down his barn. But the old man knew the truth. After 30 years of hiding, the killers had finally found him. Then his SWAT officer son arrived and the real war began. Before watching full story, comment below from where are you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Henry stood in his yard. He was 94 years old. His hands shook as he held his walking stick. 5 people in suits got out of white cars. They looked mean. The woman in front had blonde hair. She carried papers. She walked like she owned the place. Her name was Karen Mills. "Mr. Henderson," she said. Henry had used that fake name for 30 years. "I'm from the HOA. Your buildings are dangerous. We have to tear them down." Behind her, a big yellow machine started up. It was loud like thunder. The machine hit Henry's fence. Wood broke into pieces. "What's wrong with my buildings?" Henry asked. His voice was calm but his heart beat fast. "I lived here 30 years. Never had problems." Karen smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Rules changed, old man. Your barn is falling down. Your chicken house is in the wrong place. Everything must go." The big machine hit his fence again. Henry built that fence with his own hands. When his son Marcus was little. "You can't do this," Henry said. "Show me the real papers." One of Karen's men laughed. He was young with tattoos on his arms. "Prison tattoos. What you gonna do, Grandpa? Call the cops?" "Maybe I will," Henry said. "Good luck," Karen said. "We own half the cops. The other half don't care about old men." The machine moved toward his barn. Henry's chest hurt. Inside that barn were papers. Important papers from 30 years ago. When he told the police about bad people called the Torino family. If Karen found those papers, people would die. "Please," Henry said. "Give me time to move my things." "No time," Karen said. "We do this now." Her men spread out. They moved like soldiers. This was not a normal building job. These people were hunters. They came to kill him. The machine bit into his barn. Wood screamed and broke. Henry closed his eyes. After 30 years of hiding, they found him. Then he heard a car coming fast. A black police truck came over the hill. Dust flew behind it like smoke. Karen stopped smiling. "Who is that?" The truck stopped hard. The door flew open. Marcus jumped out. He wore black armor and a helmet. He had a big gun. Henry's son looked like he could fight an army. "Everybody stop!" Marcus shouted. "Police!" Karen's men stepped back. The machine operator turned off his engine. Everything got quiet. "What's happening here?" Marcus walked over with his gun ready. He looked professional. Controlled. "No problem, officer," Karen said. "Just HOA business. Building violations. On my father's land?" Marcus kept watching the group. "Dad, you okay?" Henry nodded. But his mind was racing. Marcus didn't know the truth. He didn't know his father's real name. He didn't know why they lived apart for so many years. "Show me the papers," Marcus said. Karen gave him her clipboard. Marcus read them with careful eyes. Henry knew what he would find. The papers looked real but they were fake. "These aren't HOA papers," Marcus said. "There's no HOA out here. This is county land." "Must be a mistake," Karen said. But her hand moved toward her jacket. Marcus saw her move. "Keep your hands where I can see them." That's when the shooting started. One of Karen's men pulled out a gun. Marcus dropped down and shot back. The man spun and fell. He grabbed his shoulder. "Get down." Marcus yelled to his father. Henry dove behind his truck. Bullets started flying everywhere. Karen's crew weren't builders. They had automatic weapons. Marcus rolled behind his police truck and called on his radio. "Shots fired at 1247 Mesa Road. Many armed men. Need help now." Static came back. Nothing else. "They're blocking the radio," Henry called out. He had seen this before. Hit squads always cut communications first. The big machine started again. The operator was using it as a weapon. He tried to crush Marcus's truck. The machine turned. Its bucket swung at the police truck. Marcus rolled away as metal hit metal. His truck's windows exploded. Glass flew everywhere. "Dad, stay down," Marcus shouted. But Henry wasn't helpless. He crawled to his porch. He reached under a loose board. He had prepared this 30 years ago. His fingers found cold metal. A .45 gun loaded and ready. Karen saw him moving. She raised her own gun. It looked military. "Henry Castellano," she called out. 30 years late, but we found you." Marcus froze. "What did you call him?" "Your daddy never told you the truth, boy," Karen laughed. He's not Tom Henderson. He's Henry Castellano. The rat who sent my boss to prison to die. Henry's blood went cold. Marcus turned to stare at him. His eyes showed confusion and hurt. Is that true? Marcus asked. Before Henry could answer, the big machine swung around again. This time it hit the house. The bucket smashed through his kitchen wall like it was paper. That's when help came. Not police. Not federal agents. His neighbors. Mrs. Chun from next door came out with a hunting rifle. She was 78 but moved like a trained shooter. Her first shot broke the machine's oil line. Fluid sprayed everywhere. The machine died. Old Bill from down the road appeared with a tactical shotgun. His limp was gone. He moved like a soldier. He was a Marine in Vietnam. Roberto from the corner house came from behind Henry's barn. He carried an AR-15 like he was born with it. He used to work for drug cartels before he helped police 15 years ago. Karen's face went white. She realized the truth. This wasn't just an old man's ranch. This was a community of federal witnesses. People who had spent years preparing for this exact moment. Light them up, Bill called out in his old sergeant voice. The quiet neighborhood became a fortress. Windows opened. Gun barrels appeared. These weren't helpless old people. They were dangerous people who had learned to hide. Marcus stared as his father's neighbors started shooting. They moved like a team. They covered each other. They talked with hand signals. What is this place? Marcus said. Henry crawled over to his son. Safe house community. We're all federal witnesses. Been preparing for 30 years. Marcus looked at his father like a stranger. Who are you really? A bullet hit the ground between them. Karen's crew was falling back but still fighting. They hid behind their cars and shot back. I'm your father, Henry said. Everything else doesn't matter. Doesn't matter? Marcus's voice cracked. You've been lying my whole life. To keep you safe. Henry grabbed his son's arm. The Torino family swore they'd kill everyone I loved. I had to disappear. I had to let you think I left you. Marcus pulled away. So you let me grow up thinking my dad didn't want me? You let mom die thinking you didn't care? Henry's heart broke again. Every day. Every single day I wanted to come back. But they would have found you. Would have killed you both. A grenade rolled under Marcus's truck. He tackled his father. They both hit the ground hard behind concrete steps. The explosion shook the yard. When the smoke cleared, Karen was coming forward with her last men. 3 of them moving like special forces. Time to finish this, she called out. 30 years of running ends today, Henry. That's when Henry reached in his back pocket. Not for another gun. For a small black device he carried every day since moving to the ranch. A panic button. Direct line to the U.S. Marshals who protected witnesses. He pressed it. What's that? Marcus asked. Insurance, Henry said. Took 30 years but I finally get to use it. The gunfight kept going around them. Mrs. Chin had moved to a better spot. She was picking off Karen's crew with perfect shots. Bill was moving from the left side. Roberto had disappeared, which meant he was flanking from the right. But Karen and her last man reached the barn. They kicked open the doors and went inside. The files? Henry whispered. If she finds them. What files? Evidence. About the Torino family. Names, dates, money records. If she destroys them, dozens of court cases fail. Marcus looked at his father with new understanding. You weren't just a witness. You were a spy. For 15 years. From the inside. I was Vincent Torino's accountant. I kept records of everything. When I testified, I helped convict half the family. Karen came out of the barn carrying a metal case. She saw Henry watching and smiled. Looking for these? She held up the case. 30 years of evidence. All the convictions you helped get. All the lives you destroyed. She pulled out a special grenade. Military grade .1 that would burn documents to ash in seconds. Goodbye, Henry Castellano. That's when Roberto appeared behind her like a ghost. His knife found her throat before she could pull the pin. The grenade fell to the ground safely as Karen collapsed. Her last man turned around, shooting wildly. Roberto moved away from the bullets like he was still 20 instead of 75. Marcus used the distraction to move wide. His training kicked in. Move fast, shoot straight, think later. He put 3 bullets in the man's chest. Silence fell over the ranch like a heavy blanket. Henry got up slowly, using his walking stick. Around the yard, his neighbors came out of hiding. Mrs. Chin. Bill. Roberto. Others he'd lived near for years without knowing their real stories. Everyone okay? Bill called out. Everyone nodded. A few small wounds but nothing serious. They had trained for this, prepared for this, dreamed of the day they could stop running and start fighting back. Marcus stood in the middle of it all, looking lost. I don't understand any of this. Henry walked slowly to his son. Your whole life you've been a police officer. Protecting people. Fighting bad guys. You think I didn't know that? Think I wasn't proud? You weren't there, Marcus said bitterly. I was there every time you graduated. Police academy, SWAT training, detective promotion. I sat in the back where you wouldn't see me. I watched my son become the man I hoped he'd be. Marcus stared at him. You were at my graduations? Everyone. Your mother knew. We agreed it was safer if you thought I was gone. But I never stopped watching. Never stopped being proud. Tears ran down Marcus's face. She knew? Mom knew you were alive. She knew everything. About the testimony, the threats, the witness protection. She made me promise to stay away until it was safe. To let you have a normal life. A normal life without my father. A living life without my father. The Torinos don't just kill. They make examples. Your mother and I chose your life over our family. Helicopters filled the air. Federal agents, finally responding to Henry's panic button. Black helicopters circled the ranch like metal birds. Henry Castellano? The first agent out wore a bulletproof vest that said Deputy U.S. Marshal. I'm Deputy Marshal Williams. Took us a while to get here. Better late than never, Henry said. Williams looked at the battlefield. Looks like you handled things without us. Team effort, Henry said. He pointed to his neighbors. We've all been waiting for this day. The federal agents moved fast. They secured the scene, collected evidence, processed Karen's crew. The living ones would face federal charges. The dead ones would be identified and their crime networks destroyed. The case, Henry told Williams. Everything you need to restart the Torino prosecutions. 30 years of evidence they tried to destroy. Williams took the case personally. This will put a lot of bad people back in prison. Good, Henry said. That's what it was for. While the federal agents worked, Marcus and Henry sat on the porch steps. The same steps where Henry read bedtime stories 30 years ago. Before everything changed. I became a cop because of you, Marcus said quietly. Because I left you? Because Mom told me stories about how you fought bad guys. How you made the world safer. I thought they were just stories to make me feel better about not having a dad. Henry smiled. Your mother was always smarter than me. She said you'd come home someday. When it was safe. I stopped believing her when I turned 18. I stopped believing it too. Started thinking the Torinos would outlive me. That I'd die in hiding and you'd never know the truth. They sat quietly watching federal agents work. Henry's neighbors were being questioned, their own stories of witness protection and hidden lives finally coming out. What happens now? Marcus asked. Deputy Marshal Williams walked over to them. That's up to you both. The Torino family is finished. Has been for years really. Karen Mills was working for the last pieces. With her network gone, the threat is over. Over? Henry could hardly believe it. Vincent Torino died in prison last week. His sons are dead or in prison themselves. The organization is scattered. No one left who cares about 30-year-old testimony. Henry felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he'd carried for 30 years. I can use my real name again? You can do whatever you want. Both of you. The Witness Protection Program considers your case closed. Marcus looked at his father. So what do you want to do, Henry Castellano? Henry smiled at hearing his real name from his son's mouth. I want to fix my fence. Rebuild my barn. Maybe have my son over for Sunday dinner. I'd like that, Marcus said. But I have questions. 30 years worth. I have answers, Henry promised. And time. We have all the time in the world now. The federal agents finished their work as the sun set over the ranch. The helicopters left, leaving only the sound of wind through the desert and distant cattle. Mrs. Chun walked over from her house. Henry, we're having a community barbecue tomorrow night. Celebration. You and Marcus should come. We'll be there, Henry said. After she left, Marcus shook his head. How many of our neighbors are former criminals? Most of them. Mrs. Chin testified against human traffickers. Bill brought down corrupt defense contractors. Roberto helped break up a cartel moving drugs through military bases. And they all ended up here? Federal witness communities. Places where people with dangerous pasts can live quietly together. Watch each other's backs. Marcus stood up and looked at the damaged ranch. Shot up cars, broken fence, barn wall with a hole through it. This will take work to fix. I've got time, Henry said. Question is, do you? Marcus smiled. His first real smile since the shooting started. I've got vacation days saved up. About 30 years worth. Henry laughed. The sound felt rusty but real. Think your SWAT team can handle things without you for a few weeks? They'll have to. I've got a ranch to help rebuild. And a father to get to know. As they walked toward the house together, Henry felt something he hadn't felt in 30 years. Hope. Not the desperate hope of a man in hiding, but the quiet confidence of someone who could finally stop running. The ranch would be rebuilt. The community would be stronger. And most importantly, he could finally be Henry Castellano again. Not just in witness protection papers but in his son's eyes. Justice had been served, but more than that, a family had been put back together. The Torino crime family had tried to destroy his life 30 years ago. Instead, they had just delayed it. Now, finally, Henry Castellano was home. Marcus stopped at the front door. One more question, Dad. What's that? Do you really know how to fix a fence, or were you just an accountant? Henry grinned and held up his weathered hands. Son, I've had 30 years to learn. By the time we're done, this ranch will be stronger than ever. Good, Marcus said. Because I have a feeling we're going to be here a long time. They walked into the house together, father and son, ready to build something new from the ashes of old secrets. Outside, their community of former witnesses and reformed criminals settled in for the night, secure knowing they had finally stopped running and started fighting back. The ranch would rise again, and this time, it would be built on truth instead of lies. Justice instead of revenge. And most importantly, on the unbreakable bond between a father and son who had found each other again after 30 years apart. In the end, that was worth more than all the evidence in the world. Henry Castellano was finally free to be himself. Marcus finally had his father back. And together they would build a future on the solid ground of truth. The old ranch had survived its greatest test. The community had proven they could defend themselves. And a family torn apart by necessity had been made whole again by courage and love. As the stars came out over the desert, Henry and Marcus sat on the porch planning tomorrow. There was a fence to rebuild, a barn to repair, and 30 years of father-son conversations to catch up on. But they had time now. All the time in the world. The war was over. The family was together. And justice had finally won.